All right, we are off. It's Friday. Got a couple things on the agenda today. First thing is a series of errands. I was just venting to my wife because I don't like doing errands. There's just so much stop and go, and I just don't like it. But I'm not sure if anyone else is like this. When I go to do anything like that, I plan my course so that I don't have to cross traffic. And if I do, it's at a stoplight. But ideally, everything would be right turns. So before I actually get to my jobs, I have to go to Amazon, or I'm sorry, go to UPS to drop off a couple returns. I don't know if something's changed with Amazon as of late, but every return that we've had to do, we've needed to box the item before we bring it to UPS. So it's still nice that it's free. We don't have to print the label, but we do need a box. I don't know if something's changed with Amazon or their relationship with UPS, but I believe we used to be able to just bring the item and then UPS would take care of the packaging and the labeling. Anyways, it's fine. The only annoying thing with this part is I posted a video about this last week. I started doing some weather stripping on my front door, and I needed the bottom sweep part. The universal one I got from Home Depot, at least the particular one I got did not fit, so I ordered one off Amazon. That came in, and it was exactly what I needed, except the channel that slides onto the bottom of the door, they were the right style, except the two channels that slide onto the bottom, they weren't wide enough, so I can get one on one side, but it wasn't wide enough to fit onto the second side there. So returning that, and it was recycling this week, and so I threw away this long box that was needed, or that it came in, and so now I am returning this sweep in a different box. So it's a little bent to make it fit, but we'll see if they accept it, which I think they will. So from there, I'll hit up Home Depot to get a different universal one for my door, and then I'm heading to a job where I'm looking at weather stripping and sweeps at their property, and I may need to change out a threshold. So I'll get there, and then I need to do a couple chores for my mom, get some dog food, and stop by the bank, and then I'll finally be at my job. So yeah, that's the plan for today. It is kind of funny how my jobs cluster. I think I said this a couple times, but it was weather stripping and door sweeps and exterior bid. I did a bid for an exterior door replacement and a storm door replacement, storm door handle in the last several weeks, and up to this point I've had 0 requests for that type of work. So it is kind of funny how they cluster together. So we'll see how the day goes, but that's the plan for now. So the errands are going well so far. I thought I made a mistake, and when I got to UPS, I went to go do my pocket check, knife, phone, keys, and went to go tap where my wallet is, and wasn't there. I was like, crap, now I gotta go break the circuit I just pre-planned to go back and get my wallet. Turns out I left it in the truck. So that problem was solved. And then I got to Home Depot to go return the door sweep, and like I said, I had got one off of Home Depot that didn't fit, so I ordered one off Amazon that didn't fit. And I accidentally put the barcode label, the label with the barcode of the Amazon one with the Home Depot return. So when I got there, they scanned my phone with the receipt and then the product, and it didn't show up. And they're like, this isn't our product. I'm like, but it is. And we're just looking at this giant picture of the same exact product on the screen that's associated with the receipt and the physical product that I'm returning. Like, this isn't our product. They're like, we may sell something similar, but this isn't ours. I'm like, try to explain that I had ordered 2 and must have mixed up the labels. And she's like, there's nothing I can do. And I was like, okay. So then my plan was to go to a different Home Depot and just remove the label altogether and say, like, I don't have the barcode. I must have thrown it out. And then turns out the barcode was actually on one of the cardboard pieces in the package that was folded, so I didn't see it. But I'm like, I'm not going to go back to that same lady. So that's where we're at. I'll return it at a different time. All right, at my job. That's at a property I manage. You probably have seen me here before. Replaced the storm door handle on this side. When I initially put it on, I was thinking of keeping it angled or oriented that way. I thought it'd be a little easier to grip, but I think I'm gonna put it back so that it's facing to the left, as opposed to getting tripped up on this trim work. Anyways, for this job today, I am going to inspect weather stripping, which doesn't exist on this door. It does have this looks like aluminum or some type of metal channel. So maybe I can put that kerf style in between. It does get pretty close to the striker plate and the deadbolt plate. I have a excess piece or extra piece in the truck. I'll see if that will work. And then on the hinge side, it's a little different. We'll have to see what could work there. Maybe it's just gonna be some of the peel and stick foam. And up top's got the channel as well. In addition to that, we have on the threshold, this piece is completely loose. Probably be able to just remove this, quite frankly. See if we open this door up a little bit. That just comes off. And it doesn't look to be in bad shape. Yeah, I think what I'm gonna do for that is probably just put new screws in. It has some weather stripping on here. Not fantastic. Let's see what the gap is on the door when you close it. It is hitting on the top here. Bigger gap up here. Definitely tighter on the bottom. Kind of force it shut. Definitely really tight up there. And then from a gap perspective, yep. That's probably, I would imagine, about an inch or so. So yeah, I'll see if Home Depot's got another one of these just metal parts for the threshold, get a sweep, and that should do it on that one. I am gonna run to the truck real quick and get that curve style weather stripping and see if that will fit in the channel on this particular door. So I got the kerf style weather stripping. This was extra that I had. It's obviously not going to fit this length. I'm just going to see. I mean, it fits in between, but it's definitely too wide for that to work. That would just fall off. That also, I mean, I guess with the pressure of the door, that would be okay. But a little tighter on the top of the stretch there. I don't know if I could hammer that in a little bit. It fits better. Again, it's creating a pretty big overlap of those striker plates, so I'm thinking that's not going to work. But let's see how the door shuts with that. Obviously, we know the door is catching. Oops. Yeah, that won't even shut. So that style's not going to work. So I guess I'll have to figure out what to do there. I think that's going to be the style on the other door as well, so whatever solution I figure out over here should be suitable on that side too. Check it out. Actually, on the side of this door, on the door itself, there is a channel, and that overlaps with the inside channel, which I now kind of jacked up because I was hammering it shut. Or trying to hammer it so that the kerf weather stripping could go in. But yeah, I mean, this house was built, gosh, I don't even know, 50s, 1950s, 1940s, something like that. Maybe the 60s. Well, let's see. My mom, yeah, so probably the 50s. So it seems like this style anyways, it just uses these two channels to overlap, and that's the barrier. So I think the only thing I'm gonna address on this door would be the top hinge. So that's more square to the jamb. And I got a sweep for the bottom to close the gap, and this metal piece on the threshold. And then I have another door that I'll do a sweep on, a newer style door because that was on the addition, so that has the nice, or the newer style weather stripping. This style here, the kerf, I think it's called kerf style weather stripping. So just a sweep on there. The weather stripping is good. So I'm gonna take it around Home Depot and call it good. All right, so my plan for addressing the door alignment is first replace one of the upper hinge screws with a longer screw. Don't really care too much about the finish, but I'm gonna go with one of these exterior Phillips head screws. Oh wow. That is a flathead. So what I'm gonna do is, right on the top there, I'm gonna take those brass screws out. I'm assuming they're pretty short. And then replace it with, I think this is 2.5 or 3 inch exterior screw. And hopefully that will drive that hinge closer to the jamb. Just get that angled for now. There we go. So let's do that. I'm gonna do the middle. Really don't like drills and flatheads. Screwdriver on the car, or the truck. Let me see if I can use my multi-tool though to save 2 minutes. Oh. Yeah, pretty short. I'm just gonna do the middle one. That should be okay. And now let's see how that closes. I doubt it's gonna do much, but let's see here. It was rubbing right over there. Oh, look at that. Almost made it too much. Loosen a little bit, that'll do any different. Oh, that's hilarious. The top gap is a little bit more uniform across the door now. However, what I think is happening now is the striker plate is misaligned with this. So that's not good. Oh, that latches. It's getting a little better as I back that long screw out. I think I'm going to get my Phillips screwdriver so I can just make more micro adjustments versus using the drill. So the issue I'm facing with this one right now is, like I said, it's got this channel on the door and the jamb, and it overlaps to create that seal on the bottom now. With the adjustment is they're not lining up. So I'm gonna try to keep working that a little bit. All right, I think that is good. I think I got it. Yeah, no rubbing. Decently equal reveal across everything. So it kind of widens a little bit in the middle, but it's pretty close to the same on the top. My plan originally was going to drive that screw on the top hinge, and then after I did that, I was going to take a pry bar, put it underneath the bottom left of the door, and then take the top pin out on the hinge and adjust the door so I had the alignment I wanted, and then adjust the hinge alignment itself, and then reset the pin, but ended up not needing to do that. So now the question is, on this metal threshold piece, is I did get two different replacements. The first one is, they're all Frost King products, and this one says it's adjustable and fills gaps from 1 inch to 1 inch 9/16, right over there. And then the other one is basically the same thing. It doesn't say adjustable on it, but it does say that it fills gaps up to 3/4 of an inch. And it also said low rug on this one. On this floor, there was a high carpet. They did have a product for high carpet, but since that's removed, obviously I don't need that. So what I need to do is see, we've got 3/4 of an inch on the left, a little less than 3/4 inch in the middle, and 3/4 inch on the right, so I am not going to use the bigger one. I'll use the low rug, small gaps up to 3/4 of an inch. The only other question I want to do now is, this one is pretty much fine. Obviously it's dirty, but do I just replace the seal and call it a day? Because it's already hacked out over here to adjust for some of the trim. So I'm gonna go to the truck, see if I have a hacksaw. If not, I'll probably just replace the seals on this and call it good. All right, no hacksaw, but I'm gonna try, because I prefer to replace the whole thing. Make it look nicer. I always feel like a conflict in brand ambassador, or brand preference. We've got some DeWalt tools, Milwaukee hat, Milwaukee bits over there, DeWalt screwdrivers. Just always stuck with DeWalt for my battery operated tools. They've been good to me, but the more I advance and whatnot, it just seems like Milwaukee's got such a wide array of tools in, especially in the plumbing arena. So I don't know if I'll post any of those videos. A little frustrating. Going through stuff for the first time, you know, you learn a lot. So what I was trying to accomplish, well, I guess there's two things I was trying to accomplish. Three things that I was trying to accomplish. One was to adjust the door alignment on one of the doors, which I fixed. The notes to myself is when I replaced the short brass screw on the top hinge to pitch the door back up more towards the hinge side jamb. I mean, I drove that 3-inch screw into there and it adjusted the door, but definitely more than I needed. And so just making those micro adjustments with a hand, like just a manual screwdriver, that ended up being what I needed. So just note to self, for next time, you know, you don't need to drive the heck out of it to make that adjustment. The other learning I had today was the weather stripping. Well, I was going in with the mindset of checking the weather stripping on these doors. And my only experience to date has been with the kerf style, I think it's called, K-E-R-F, where there's sort of a routed or notched section of the trim on the jambs, and you wedge the weather stripping in between, and it has the seal that compresses against the door. So that was kind of the mindset I was going in with, to check that seal or weather stripping and see if it needs to be replaced. This house was actually my grandparents' house. My mom now lives on an addition that was added on to the house. Geez, at least 10 years ago, 15 years ago. So the only side I checked was the addition side, and that's a newer door, one of those pre-hung doors, and it had the weather stripping that I'm used to. And I just kind of assumed that the other doors would have the same. And the weather stripping on the addition, on the one entrance, that was fine. There was a little gap on the bottom where the sweep was, because the sweep is missing. And that was one of the things I wanted to accomplish today. And so I went to a Home Depot the second time I went, and it said it had 26 in stock. There was 0. So I found a worker, and she basically just said, yeah, so if that's the case, then someone just walked with it. So someone took like a case of these sweeps and just left the store, apparently. So I couldn't do that because I couldn't get the product. I'm gonna try the Home Depot closer to my house tomorrow. Anyways, I couldn't accomplish that, so that was a little frustrating. So then the other thing I wanted to do, again, so back to the weather stripping on the main house, as I call it, not the non-addition side, that did not have the weather stripping that I'm used to. It had those metal, they almost looked like J-channels that you use for sighting on the interior of the door, and then they had the same thing on the door itself, and they created an overlap. So it was pretty much just, I think it was aluminum, but aluminum on aluminum overlapping to create a seal. So, you know, outside of removing all of that and installing a new sort of system, I just left that alone. But that was kind of like an interesting learning for me, all the different kinds of ways that doors can seal out air. Again, this house was probably built in the 50s, and probably the original door. So, probably how they did it back then. So I don't know if anyone has any comments or suggestions on that, and if there's ways to improve it other than ripping it all out and doing something more modern. So then the other thing I was trying to accomplish today was on the threshold, which goes into the living room. The living room had really high, probably like inch and a half brown carpet that I had ripped out and redid the floors. And so they had this metal plate on top of the threshold that sort of went over the carpet a little bit. And now that I removed it, there was a big gap between the floor and the top of that metal plate. And I honestly don't even know what that metal plate's called. I keep calling it a threshold. I know it's a part of the threshold. I don't know if that particular piece is the threshold or if it's just a component. But I had removed that, and there was like a 3/4 inch gap between the bottom of that and the top of the door. So in my mind, I was like, okay, I'll get a new one of those metal thresholds, install it, get a new seal, and then get a new sweep. Obviously, I couldn't get the sweep because they didn't have them. But man, I went back and forth with kind of what to do because the existing metal threshold that was there was hacked up a little bit to make it fit. And I didn't have my hacksaw, so I didn't want to use my multi-tool to cut out the new one. So I ended up just taking the new weather stripping in the new threshold I bought and put it on the old one. And I was like, all right, that should work. And so then I oriented it, and then I went to go put the 3 screws in. One screw went in fine. The second screw I went to go put in, I think these are just cheap nickel screws, and I'm using my impact drill. And I was about 80% of the way with the screw, and the head just twisted off, just ripped it right off. So I was like, so I only had my needle nose pliers on me, and I knew it wasn't going to turn. The screw kept slipping. So then I got my multi-tool, kind of cut the bit a little bit, and just fussed and tinkered with trying to get the metal threshold off. So I got it off, and then trimmed the screw that was still exposed, put the threshold back on, started the process. Same thing happened on the right screw. I mean, these screws, man, freaking cheap, good for nothing. And so I ended up getting just, I think they're 1.25 inch exterior screws, put those in. Looked good, closed the door, it closed the gap, but then I had put the threshold on in the incorrect orientation. And so though it closed the gap on the door, once the door was fully latched, it completely bypassed the entire weather strip, and so there was still a gap. So it went like weather strip, door, and it wasn't doing anything. And this whole time I'm like, man, I gotta get going because I'm supposed to be picking up my wife, and we're going to dinner and having meeting a couple friends at our friend's house to have dinner, and so we gotta get going. I'm already like, should have been there 25 minutes ago. So took that off, put it on the right way so that it was aligned with where the door would actually close. But when I did that, the screw holes would align with where the hardwood floor is, I believe. No, that's not true. But anyways, once I aligned it correctly and went to go close the door, it was just eating up that weather strip. It was way too tight. And so now I'm like, what do I do? So basically I just took the metal piece off, closed the door, and locked it, and then left for the day. So I'm going to research and see what I find. I think at a minimum I'm going to go to the Home Depot near my house to get the sweeps. I'm planning on getting one of those universal vinyl sweeps that just slides on the bottom of the door, that has the 2 or 3 screw holes that you can adjust up or down based on where the threshold is, and hopefully that will create a decent enough seal for now. What I'm a little upset about as well is I just redid those hardwood floors, and I had kept that metal threshold on, thinking, I don't know what I was thinking actually, but I should have taken that off because there's about an inch or so gap where I never sanded, I never stained, and I never sealed. And you can tell because it looks like the old floor. So if my plan now is to keep that uncovered, then I have to do something with the floor, and don't necessarily want to do that. So yeah, I thought today was going to be pretty straightforward. Turned out I couldn't find the product. Turned out there's a lot to know about different weather stripping techniques on doors. And yeah, cheap hardware. A little frustrating, but hey, it's all part of the learning journey. Like I said in my very first video that I put out there was I'm doing this because I want to transition into this business. So obviously I have a lot to learn, and you always have to learn along the way. So this was just another learning experience. But it's always those jobs that you think are going to be simple, that you expect to go fast. And I always forget that there's just so many variables when you're doing these things, especially on older homes, that there's so many things that you don't necessarily think about beforehand. So anyways, that was the day. We'll figure out where to go from here.